Well, certainly here activities have been on here in Soweto since this very early this morning. Already at the Hector Peterson Memorial Site, there was a wreath-laying ceremony there that took place early this morning with dignitaries including the Gauteng Premier there, David Makhura, participating in that. And where I'm standing at the moment is where there is a freedom walk which will end at this spot here by Metro FM, one of the SABC's radio stations. They started that walk at the Morris Isaacson School and they'll be moving here to Pefeni Secondary. Now, students at Pefeni Secondary in 1976 were also part of the boycott, the protest, when police opened fire on students who were protesting against Afrikaans being used as a medium of instruction. And certainly here where the Metro FM walk will stop is where there will be youth that will be reminded of the sacrifices made by the students of 1976. But just chat to me a bit about education. And we know that protest back then was against the medium of instruction being Afrikaans and also fighting for a better education. Joining me now is Mbangwa Xaba, who is from Each One Teach One, will give us a bit of an update in terms of what the situation is in Soweto at the moment relating to education. Mbangwa, thank you very much for joining us this morning. First of all, let's talk about education in Soweto in 2014, 38 years later.
In fact, yes, Griselda, our own view as the Each One Teach One Foundation is that the education system in Soweto currently is fast approaching crisis level. We have over 128 schools shut down, they are in disuse. You have maladies such as religious matters with things like satanism. You've got crime and abuse of substance. You've got a collapse of systems in management in schools. I mean, there are schools in Soweto that have malfunctioning ablution facilities. On this occasion of the 38th anniversary of the heroes and heroines of 1976, we believe that cannot be the case. And the Each One Teach One Foundation says this situation must stop. In fact, for our own part, we have called for our own policy conference, which will be sitting in September. The idea being that let us revisit the struggles of the heroes of 76, what they fought for, free, dynamic and equal education for all.
What would you say then is to blame for the education system, which you're saying is nearing collapse in Soweto? It was a fight for better education in 1976. Are you saying nothing has changed in Soweto?
The democratic government has ushered in equity. In fact, much has been achieved. Applauded should be going to the democratic government. Today, a majority of high-passing students, many distinctions, they come from poor schools, which indicates that we're matching the so-called private and so on the schools. That has been, access has been guaranteed. Government has made equity, where a majority of schools in Soweto, currently there are no-fee schools, which means basically they're providing education for free. I think at the heart of the problem is our own pride as a people, where people leave schools that are no free but find it necessary to spend money to take their children in suburbia, city schools. And also,
would you say that has created the impression perhaps that quality education cannot come from a township school or a school in Soweto, hence this move to other schools, even though there are no fee schools in Soweto?
Well, absolutely, which in fact is far from the truth. The education system as it's done now, 20 years into democracy, is equal across the board. In fact, government, public schools they're holding their own better, very well, and they can account for themselves very well in terms of comparison to other private provisions of schools, which means at the heart of the problem is we do not have the outcomes and the struggles that were fought for by the students of 76, which were later joined by the reminiscence of 1985 and 1986. You will remember that in that period, you had the formation of the National Education Crisis Committee, which meant the amalgamation of parents, teachers, and students coming together, which in fact brought about what you have today as the SGBs. And we're saying, so long as we have the community apathetic to their own education, we would have such problems. That is why Each One Teach One believes that if we are able to unite the residents of Soweto who could be able to participate in their own education, the struggles of the students of 76 will be achieved. In fact, we believe there should be what we would call the National Education Charter, which would set the bar on the entire standards of education, which would address the curricula, which would address the content and the policy direction of education, and which we believe must be achieved.
But as Each One Teach One, what is the way forward then? It's 38 years later. You're speaking of a different struggle now, not one for, I would say, yes, for a better education still, but relating to the use of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. You know, now the challenges are different. You speak of a lack of ablution facilities and a host of other things. What are you doing as Each One Teach One?
Already, the Each One Teach One, which has been in existence for about 2 years, we're already at a stage where we have formed partnerships with the provincial government as well as the city. As it is, in fact, we have partnerships with institutions that we would see ourselves already engaging in access of bursaries for top performing. In fact, we already joined the provincial government with awarding top performing students with bursaries. Our idea should be that every student actually who has pass to university must have free access to that. But in our little way, we're working towards that. But also to address the question of unemployment of young people who pass universities and so on. We have started that. We joined the city. Johannesburg has committed themselves into programs of every program of the city for the 10% into the local community.
All right, Mbangwa Xaba, thank you very much for your time. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. That's Mbangwa Xaba from Each One Teach One, saying that while there's significant strides that have been made here in Soweto when those students fought and protested in 1976, there are certainly challenges still with regard to schooling here in Soweto.